Two of the hottest footballers out of Portugal are linked with Manchester United, and reports coming from both Portugal and the UK suggest that Sir Jim Ratcliffe could have had a secret meeting with their agent. My name is Webb. Welcome to the United Hotspot, and here I am to tell you about this player you're looking at, Rafael Leao, who plays for AC Milan, and his national teammate, that is Joao Neves, who plays for Benfica. Both of them are players United is linked with, but it is said we have made a move, and Sir Jim, the man at the top himself, a few days ago, is said to have had a secret meeting with their agent Mendes. Again, it's a report I've been making, of course, research about, and of course, it seems to make a lot of sense because clearly, Joao Neves, first of all, is a player that Manchester United has been interested in for a long time. If you do recall, even in October, as well as October last year, we were talking about him, and when these rumors started coming out, Benfica were quick to go and extend his contract and give him a bigger release clause. In fact, at that time, I recall Joao Neves' release clause was 60 million pounds, but euros rather, 60 million euros, but they extended it to double that. That is 120 million euros. That is what you are supposed to pay if you're going to trigger him out of his contract, according to the reports we get from that side. But there was a report from Goal, I recall again, that United had a priority clause with Benfica in his contract, and how that comes in, it was refuted by Benfica. If you recall, they came out and released the statement from their CEO. But this player, 19 years of age, he's a top player expected to shine for Portugal in the Euros, has been a hot property to come at United and replace Casemiro, who clearly is done at Manchester United. So there is him represented by George Mendes, the same agent of Cristiano Ronaldo. This guy with his Gestificate is the guy who represents all the top players in Portugal. I think if you're a young parent and you've got a player you want to make money out of, you just have got to take them to Gestificate. Now, the other player is this Rafael Leao. He has not been a very consistent link with Manchester United, but of course we do know we are looking for a forward, mostly to play on the wing. If we don't bring back Mason Greenwood, we're talking of players like Michael Olise, but also a backup striker, Hoyland. We've been linked to several players from Borussia Dortmund, players from several clubs have been linked with Man United. But Rafael Leao said that when in that meeting that reportedly took place between Sir Jim Ratcliffe and George Mendes, they were talking about a possibility because even Rafael Leao is represented by Gestificate. He's a Portuguese player who plays for AC Milan. And apparently, Sir Jim wanted to negotiate terms to see both of them join Man United at once, and they agree on a payment structure. Leao is a good player, and I'm going to go into his abilities. I've spoken about Joao Neves enough, probably, but Leao is a forward who can play as a number 9. He can play on the right and on the left. It's difficult to even know what is his natural foot. He's good with the left, brilliant with the right. He's probably right-footed, but he's ambidextrous that he can easily. He has scored so many goals with his left foot. Yet he's mostly predominantly right-footed player who plays mostly as an inverted winger, but can play also through the central axis. So in terms of dimension, this 24-year-old brings something a little more than most of the players we've been linked with. But also, the league is playing in is quite competitive, and he has been an important player for AC Milan, a top club in Europe like that. He has scored goals in all competitions he has played in the Coppa Italia. He has played in 2 games, scored as many goals. Means he has scored in each game this year or this season. Then in the Italian Serie A, 28 games, scored 7 and assisted 8. Now I'm going to talk about his assists, and that's for me where I've got a lot of interest in him. In the Europa League, he has played 6, scored 3 goals, and assisted 3 times. Now, if you look at that in total, Rafael Leao has got 11 assists to his name. 11 assists in the Europa League and in the Italian Serie A. Now, what I like about his game is that unlike some of our players who are selfish, he's a team player. You've seen him create so many goals for his teammates in instances where you thought a Garnacho or a Marcus Rashford would have gone for goal. And I'm looking at such a player and I'm thinking, put that on one of the flanks playing with Rasmus Højlund, who is always in the right place at the right time. We are getting goals. So that's why I think there is a keen interest in Leao, and he's 24. He's a young player. The issue with Leao is his release clause is too high. he has got a release clause of reported to be about 170 million euros. Now, but it can be paid in multiple installments. That's the only beauty about it. But still, it's too high for Manchester United. But of course, if it can be paid in multiple installments and you can pay it, for example, in 5 or 6 years, it's bearable. But still, it's a bit high. And you do recall that Ineos are not in the business of going into markets and signing, expensive players. So that is where we might have a bit of an issue. But in terms of these two players, I think for me, I've said it here before. I've been consistent. I've said Joao Neves would be the perfect replacement for Casemiro, but he's too expensive. If we can afford him, I think for a 19-year-old in this day and age, paying 120 million euros, that's close to 100 million pounds. I think it's okay. It makes sense in the markets today. But the situation we are in, where we don't have a lot of money, it becomes, if we can afford to get him. For me, I think as I endorse Ineos to go on with that deal. For Leao, beautiful player as well. If we can still put the resources in place and get him, it would make sense if we have decided not to bring back Greenwood. For me, all when it comes to the forward players, my recommendation will always be Mason Greenwood returning. But in the event, which is possible, that there is no room for Greenwood to return, for whichever reason, bad or good, then Leao can be a good player, for mostly because he's a team player. I've told you how many assists he's made, 11 assists that he has made. And I've been watching him, and a few AC Milan games I've watched and his videos, and you clearly see a player who is not selfish, who sets up for his teammates, who plays along with his teammates, and that's the exact player who will get the best out of Rasmus Højlund. And also the fact that even Højlund played in Italy for some time. The game in Italy, and of course, Leao is from AC Milan. The fact that there is a likeness in the games, the style of football back that was played then, it would be easy for Højlund to pick up and play with him. So there are many positives I would pick in us having Rafael Leao. The only negative is the money. Can we afford it? Yes, maybe in installments. We can, if, for example, because these negotiations and payment plans usually can take. You can have to pay, for example, if it's like over 100 million pounds, it can be money you can pay over 5 years. And in 5 years, really, 100 million pounds is pocket change for Man United, honestly. And within your scamming in, I mean, the man who makes the most money in the world, he knows how to make money. His plan is to turn this footballing department into a money making department. Also, probably that would be the only advantage we would have in that. But for me, in terms of these two players, they are good players, but also the fact that they are represented by George Mendes, an agent we know who handles his players, and he creates an environment around his players that they will focus only on the football. That's why it is rare for George Mendes players to flop, because of how he manages them. He manages their money, their businesses. Like for Cristiano Ronaldo, I think he invested a lot of his money for him. He manages their growth and how to manage business. I'm sure Cristiano Ronaldo will be a very successful businessman just because of George Mendes and how he handled him from when he was a young kid. So when you have such players come into the big money at a club like Manchester United with good agents around them, you know that they won't have so many distractions around them to perform and deliver on the pitch. So for me, that's the other advantage we would have with these two players. And like they say, better the devil you know than the angel you don't. So this devil might be expensive, but coming from Gestifoot and George Mendes, it's better than any other players we might gamble on, represented by guys who just disorganize their players. One of the biggest issues that talents have today is having the wrong people around them. They end up making wrong decisions and their careers, go like that. So for me, those are the two players. I think it makes sense, but let's see how it goes in terms of our finances. My name is Webb. This is the United Hotspot. I'll catch you later.